Hi everyone.
No.
Hi. So, I'm the marketing guy in a room full of data protection piranhas. So try not to rip my head off, but we'll go with effectively, I'm beginning on the basis that we're already implementing GDPR in the correct way. And what I wanted to go through today is actually to give some implementable techniques and strategies that you guys can actually go back and either pass on to your marketing team or actually actively have a role in suggesting that are working particularly well through 2019. It says 2019-20, did this very similar talk about 6 months ago, and about half the presentations changed, so it's naturally things are changing fast. Google Ads announcements, things like that, we'll go through those. But what this talk isn't necessarily about is getting more customers about worrying about GDPR. So we're always keeping that in mind and just effectively utilising it to actually become better companies and serve our customers better. And at the end of the day, improve our profit margins in that sense by doing a better job for the customers that we serve. So effectively it's called opening Pandoras Box because when in Greek mythology, when Prometheus opened the box, everything threw out, and this is effectively GDPR. Everybody lost lots of mailing lists, things like that, in terms of data they had to literally get rid of. But actually, there's a hope towards the end of that we can produce. Hello. But yeah, effectively, the hope now is actually we can all do a better job and actually get better results from what we've been doing before. So effectively, it comes down to 3 core principles on our end, and effectively when I say our end, we're a marketing agency, so everything we do is effectively obviously on that digital side, but also being fully aware of the consequences should you get GDPR and other data protection issues wrong. So there's testing, and choosing your best customers and basing what you do based on them in order to serve other customers who are similar to them. And effectively a new value exchange, which wasn't necessarily required, let's say this time 2 years ago before GDPR came in. So as businesses, we pay in time or in money for literally every website visitor that we have. So naturally we want to make the most of it. So effectively, in the old days, you could effectively go straight through, record that data and use it almost without permission, or at least with no fear of consequences. And you see the difference with Facebook's fine of what they got before GDPR was implemented and actually what they would have got had they done the same a year later. So again, everything we do is testing, and effectively on that we want to make the best use of each person who visits our website that we've paid in time or money to actually get there and bring to visit our business that we can potentially serve. So as a real base on the basics, we've seen video works really well. Different colours and design based on the platforms that your visitors have actually come from work particularly well. As a direct example, if somebody's coming from Facebook and your landing page is a blue tinge of the same colour as Facebook, there's actually now studies to show that the person is more likely to sign up to a mailing list, GDPR compliant mailing list, but based on the fact that your colours are similar to where they've come from. In terms of demographics as well, so actually having different landing pages on your website that you might send, let's say, people who are aged 18 to 35, they could be different to the ones that you send for people aged 35 to 44. It's effectively seeing what works, what makes people want to stay in touch, and actually testing those. But it's not going to be the same across all demographics. Obviously, you might have a particular niche anyway, but in terms of if you're serving a wide customer base, different things will work for different ages. So obviously we've got here a small chart which brings up what would happen and the cost of inaction if after GDPR we keep doing exactly what we were doing. And obviously in terms of building up, let's say, a database as a direct example, you would probably have less sign-ups because now the visitor has to do more and actually physically consent to you to stay in touch with them. Whereas previously they might have signed up for an email or something for free, and then you could get in touch with them pretty much for the next year, and you wouldn't need to worry about any consequences of that. But actually, if now, when we have to obtain that high level of consent, we can actually get a higher level of insight into the people who are signing up to our database and actually interacting and opening our emails that we're sending through, because they're effectively our best customers. They're easy, they're happy to actually receive information from us, they've signed up, and we can obviously take direct advantage of that. Again, with email marketing, you've got a smaller list of email to actually communicate with on a consistent basis. But now, actually, if you change that and have a better standard of emails, you segment your email database by having more particular sign-up forms in terms of which actually work for each of your customers. So you might have, again, different sign-up forms for those age groups, and actually you put them into a different email marketing funnel with different messages. And again, you effectively increase the engagement by being more specific and more personalised. And personalisation is a huge part across the whole of the digital marketing sector in 2019, and will continue to be in 2020. So again, a consequence, smaller database to remarket to or email or reach out to. But actually, if you improvise, you will take advantage of where your competitors aren't, who are still stuck on pre-GDPR, let's say, sign-up forms and landing pages on your website. So they won't be converting as many visitors to customers and leads as you are. So as long as you're actually taking the next step and being on the leading edge, you're actually going to effectively get more of the market share than your competitors who are still stuck effectively on 2 years ago in terms of what they were still doing. So you can actually raise and look at raising your profits and your conversion rates, whereas actually if you take no action at all, then you're effectively going to be in trouble because you'll be having the same amount of visitors, paying the same amount to get them there in time or money, but having less conversions or less leads, less communications on an ongoing basis, therefore less customer loyalty. So then what I wanted to do is actually just go through 10 sample strategies that you can actively write down to implement and test. Not everyone's going to work amazingly well, but the idea is that 3 or 4 work brilliantly, 3 or 4 probably won't work, and there's 1 or 2 that you can really optimise to get working for your business. So the first one is being personalised with Google AdWords. So personalisation, as I say, is getting more popular. Consumers actively want or like the idea of having personalised content on products. That doesn't have to be that actually, my name's on the product. It's actually that I might do something which then I get a personalised list of products that would be right for me, and therefore I'm more likely to convert because I think that those products are actually made for me, or they work particularly well for what I want. They give me my solution to my problem. You can get a lot of this data, again, as long as you've captured it in a GDPR consent way, by looking at Google Analytics, and so you can see what type of markets your visitors are generally in the market for as well. So as an example, you might run, let's say, a law firm, but actually your customers you see are also regularly in the market for travel accommodation or in the travel sector. And therefore you can learn what audiences to actually test out new marketing on, whether that's something online or actually doing something offline as well, because you have the data of who your best customers are and who actually, and what they do and what they like to do, whether that's travel, sports, reading the news, politics. As I've put there, in terms of trying to be in a human language, in market is Google's term for what people are always also looking to buy. And then in terms of that, Google's already completed the GDPR checks on its audiences for you. So as long as you've captured that data in a GDPR compliant way, when you go to use Google's tools on remarketing and in-market audiences, they've already had to do that and get that data as well. So you're effectively avoiding the need to check twice or avoiding the risk of not being compliant when using their marketing tools. What you can also do is go even further. So who here knows that their company, if they use Google AdWords? So I've got a few. So as an example, if you, Tim, let's say you've sold tractors. I'm sure you don't, but there we go.
Anything's possible.
But as an example, if I was searching red tractor, and you might appear in the search results, actually if I'm searching for buy red tractor, if you're recording that data in terms of who's looking to buy, you can now send a certain number of visitors to your website who have always had that word buy in their Google search. You can record that, and then you can say to Google or to Facebook, find me the 1% of people in the UK who are most similar to these people who are typing buy tractor. So it gives you that deeper level of actually the intent to buy. So Google's really focusing on intent in 2019. So the intent to buy or the intent to review. So you can actually send specific people based on their Google searches, even if it's very nuanced in terms of the difference, and take more advantage of that, because you, again, if you were selling tractors, you'd want the people who wanted to buy and not people who are interested to see what a red tractor looks like. So by staying on those, you can effectively cut down your marketing spend but massively increase the results. In terms of, again, everybody is on a phone, and I say it's over 60% of website traffic is now on mobile. It's probably closer to 70. In terms of when you look on your Google Analytics, things like that, you'll see that the vast majority of website traffic is more than likely to be from a mobile. But what you might also see is that the majority of your purchases, if you sell anything or bookings online, are from a desktop. And that's because people haven't quite got their head around actually booking on a mobile, when often the mobile version is so much worse or hard to do in comparison to sitting on your computer and simply entering your details. So again, having really simple landing pages and different landing pages for when somebody's on a mobile makes all that difference in terms of your conversion rate. So you could lose 30% of your signups from GDPR, but you might add on 50% of signups just by having a separate mobile website and no longer wasting 50 to 60 to 70% of your visitors. So you can literally effectively cut out any negative effect that you had because you've effectively now marketed better to based on the platform they're on. If you think about when you're on a mobile, it might be on the tube, it could be anything, whereas when you're on a computer, you're very concentrated and you've got that extra time, whereas you have to be very quick with mobile. So creating a landing page that immediately captures their attention and actually gives them a good call to action is important for actually turning them into a long-term lead, client, fan, whatever it is that you're looking to do. In terms of actually, that applies across everything else. So your paid marketing campaigns, going back against Google AdWords. So one thing which we've had to do is actually have completely separate mobile and desktop Google AdWords campaigns. So most people will run just separate bidding for mobile and AdWords Google traffic. So you might bid £1 if they're on a desktop or 80p if they're on a mobile. But actually, if you're doing just that, you're not maximising the fact that they are on a mobile. So you can in fact actually really use completely different ad wording. You can use words like scroll, download, watch, things like that. They work differently and you get a better click-through rate when somebody's on a mobile in that sense than when you do on a desktop. So to sort of show you the evidence effectively of that, I'll just show you a couple of examples in a minute. But our aim, I always say, if I could give Google more and more money, it would be brilliant because it would mean I was getting a return on investment that justified it. And at the same time, so if we can get these working well enough, our conversion rate's high enough, then all we'd want to do is give Google or even Facebook more money, as strange as that sounds. Now here's a couple of examples. Tim, I know you'll be interested in the Kiprix one. So these are either cleared or of companies which I have a personal stake in, so we've checked that this is all fine to show. But what you'll see here, this is a very basic example of two different ads. And they're exactly the same wording, it goes to exactly the same landing page, they're both on Facebook. But there's one difference. There's shop now versus get offer. And obviously you might be able to guess which call to action actually performs better. And the answer is get offer. So you can see there's a 27% decrease in the cost per add to cart when we talk about get offers. Now they're exactly the same offer, it's just that we've told them it's an offer, get the offer. And that's come straight through, 27% decrease. So that's a more basic example in that it's quite obvious, let's say get offer. But actually if we want to take that to the next level, when we're working on Google Ads, we want to actually look at directly bringing out the fact that people are on mobile, things like that, because people are sick of mobile websites not working well enough. It's getting better, but it's still not there. So again, these two ads are exactly the same wording, except for one part. One says mobile friendly, one says see videos, dates and prices. And there you can see effectively, one click-through rate is 36%. That's the one which says mobile friendly, and the one that doesn't is 18%. That's literally a double click-through rate, and that turns out with Google to be a 33% decrease in the cost per click that you're paying. So you can imagine if I said to you, you can save 30% of your AdWords budget, that might be a game changer, or 30% of your Facebook ads budget. That would be huge potentially depending on how much you're spending. But actually, going from that, doubling the click-through rate, you're actually getting more views than your competitors. You're effectively growing your space for less money. It's almost a no-brainer in that sense. So if there's one thing I say to go out and try, is try having some particular mobile wording in whatever ads you're doing or whatever landing pages you have. See if that works for you. It might not work for literally doubling your click-through rate. It might give you a 40% boost. So those aside, again, going back to being personalised, we don't need to factor in GDPR if we've taken the data compliantly and we're using data compliant tools like Google or Facebook, or being frank, who would get fined rather than us if they've misused the data. And so we want to know who buys our product and service and have that, measure our conversions, leads and sales, our cost per conversion, leads and sales for 18 to 24-year-olds, 25 to 34-year-olds, etc. And actually seeing which demographics respond better at different times of day to different landing pages and consistently testing. The thing is now, we can put an ad on Facebook and have the results within a day. It used to be you might have to send out mail and you wait and it comes back a week later, and then you have to count up everything and then you see the results. But Facebook will tell you in a day, if you go and spend £200, you'll know the result by tomorrow, whether it's 18 to 25-year-olds or 40 to 50-year-olds who are performing best when they're looking at your ads or buying the most product when they look at your ads. So you can literally get that information really quickly and you can change your whole marketing campaign in less than a week if you're committed and dedicated to testing it. And effectively then you can go and take that as almost as far as you like, so you can do it by location, by device. I tell you now, if you're looking at your marketing spend, iPhone users, if you're a product company, will buy more. They just, in 80% plus of cases, iPhone users convert at a higher rate, and that's probably because of this App Store, things like that. iPhone users are almost trained to buy on their phones, they're better at it, generally, in terms of they're on their phone more. So you can try things like that as well. And actually for you it might be Android, but test it, because why waste your budget unless you're spending millions and you've got all the budget in the world? You may as well spend it in the best possible place for your company. Back to email marketing, which we touched on earlier. You've probably now got a much cleaner list than you did this time 18 months ago. So again, you should be testing that. So again, being personalised, one thing, again, we've done loads of testing with Kiprix and many of the other companies that we work with. And again, that 80% plus time, when we do a really nice looking email, and then we do an email as if I've just sat there at my computer and written it in plain text, and we judge the results in terms of the click-through rate, nearly every time it's higher when it's written in a more personal format, because people are so used to getting 25, 30 emails, probably 100 emails a day, which all look the same. And actually, if it looks like somebody's written it from their computer, and you just sent it to lots of people at once, you will see the click-through rate go, it might just be 20%, but it might be 40% in your case, depending on what you've been working on. And the key is effectively, again, testing that and knowing that, do you need to potentially spend hours designing this lovely looking email when, in fact, actually, if you're more personalised, you can actually get a lot more out of it. And again, it's helping your time, and you can spend that time or money elsewhere, and effectively, again, mitigating any effects of GDPR. Giving great content. Now, this is obviously a given, but content is king. Give great content, have GDPR compliant sign-up and lead forms, and you will be able to mitigate most of the effects. It's as simple as that. If people feel they're learning or part of a community, they are going to tick that box to receive more of it if you give them something that's valuable. Somebody asked me earlier about how, if somebody's unsubscribed, how can we engage their loyalty again? And again, it's by actually being and offering something which they want, which effectively is valuable to them. So you guys might sign up if it was ongoing valuable information and news about the data protection. You might not, but as in it's something which you find valuable. Could be personal hobby, anything like that. Again, personalised content is the key, and that's whether you're looking for new leads and sign-ups or for your purchases on e-commerce. So having something that's worked really well for us is introducing quizzes, which actually then somebody will go and fill out, and then they will get personalised products or personalised emails based on their answers to that quiz. So you might have 1 of 4 potential downloads that they'll get based on their answers to that quiz, where you might say, okay, in that case, if it's a quiz on your skin, you'll get personalised products for oily skin or something like that, if that's an issue. Isn't for me. But so in that sense, being personalised, and if somebody's got that buying intent, once they see that product is more for them rather than something of a bunch of products we've effectively got up and shown them and tried to offload, then you will see again your conversion is going probably through the roof in that sense. So try something like a quiz or something that engages the person to actually give you the answers that you can then effectively recommend, and it's much more personal. Building new communities. So this is something, again, within social. So some of you may do Facebook ads or some of your companies. And what you might notice is you have to do them because for everyone who likes your Facebook page, nobody actually reacts or sees it unless you're paying now on Facebook, because it's almost pay to play if you're a business or run a company page. Instagram's still partially based on the time, but but Facebook no longer is. So why not build something like an interest group? So again, using data protection, you might have on LinkedIn or Facebook data protection groups, but you can niche that even further. And effectively then you're giving good, valuable content to people who care. And once they actually have a solution, a problem they require a solution to, they're only going to you'll be the first name that comes into their head after actually giving them free information. So again, it's a new value exchange, going back to the earlier slide of you giving genuine, good, valuable information in return for actually once they need that solution, you're probably going to be the provider, or at least considered, and given the chance to see if you can provide a solution to that problem. The good thing about that as well is if you have something like that, being frank, you can be the only person who is able to offer the service that you are. You can effectively stop other people from doing it. So again, if you're looking to sort of corner an area of the market or a niche, that's something you can definitely do. Who here, or does anybody's company deal with e-commerce in terms of buying things online? Yeah. So the abandoned cart, again, that's something which is potentially massive. And again, if you're not measuring it, firstly, start measuring the scale of it. But secondly, actually really play with that and test it, because you should be able to, if you haven't played with it and tested it, you should be able to add 50 to 100% in terms of the percentage of people who come back and buy. Now, from what I understand, and again, I may get pulled up on this, but legitimate interest, there's enough of a defence there for you to actually contact them with those once they've abandoned the cart, and it's integrated into certain platforms like Shopify, and we use it there. And again, once we see, when you optimise that abandoned cart, you can close to double the amount of people who are coming back. So if you were recovering 5 sales per 100, you should be expecting to recover 10 after a couple of months of some hard testing. And that could mean the difference of £1,000 a month, or it could mean the difference of £10,000 a month, in which case, again, another huge mitigate. You can mitigate any effects based on GDPR with something like that, depending on the size of your business. Finally, what's coming soon? So has anybody seen on their phone yet a Google Gallery ad, which is when you type something in, and actually the paid search result at the top is a picture, it's no longer just text. So that's being rolled out on a test basis at the moment, and in the new year it will probably become the norm, solely on a mobile and maybe eventually desktop. So what this means is two things. Firstly, for your SEO, you should be a little bit worried, because the click-through rate is going to go through the roof for these ads, because it's a picture, it's no longer just text, so people are more likely to click on it based on averages, and what we've seen as well, that completely backs up the data. They will probably eventually do videos as well, which again would increase the amount of people who click on the ads rather than the organic rankings even further. But for you guys, it's coming in now. You can get on that literally today on the testing program and make sure that as soon as it goes live, you can start running those types of ads. And you should be, because why not test it? Nobody else will be initially, because some people probably won't even know that this is actually going to come in 2020. It kind of goes back to 10 years ago, lots of people weren't doing Google Ads. 5 years ago, it was just starting up on Facebook. We see the cost per click on Facebook. It's at least tripled, quadrupled in the last 5 years. In terms of your cost per click, you used to be able to get clicks for 2 to 3p, literally, if you were offering something, again, of value. But now we're looking at sort of 15 to 20p in general for like something of value, and for, depending on the audience you're targeting, that could be £8 to £10 per click. On LinkedIn we run some campaigns at £20 per click, but again it can be profitable as long as you've got the optimisation in terms of getting people to convert once they're on your website. So effectively, Google Gallery Ads is going to be the biggest thing of 2020 for marketers in terms of potentially game changing. The idea though is that we get on it first before everybody else does, because as soon as everybody else does, firstly they'll learn how to start doing it well, but also secondly, they're actually we'll have to pay more because there'll be more bidding for it, but only that top spot will get the photo. So effectively, just an offer to anybody in the room, if you do want a marketing channel reviewed, we'd be more than happy to do that and give a genuine, honest some feedback. We might be able to give you 1 or 2 little game changers so that you can find a gold mine in the business. And if not, then that's fantastic, because you're running some great stuff already and you're probably doing all right. So thank you very much. That's everything there, and I hope you found it useful.
Time for some questions, if you have questions, James.
Um,
Go.
last one, the gallery ads.
Yes.
And is that paid for? Will
Yes.
Will it be paid for?
Yes, so you will have to pay to effectively have a photo for people to click through. So Google, obviously, they want to up their revenues, that's why they're introducing it, because they know that people like images, and so therefore, if you're in the normal rankings, you'll have effectively your standard text ads, and then if you're the top of the paid ads, which means you pay the most, or have the best ranking ads, because Google does it through the amount you pay and also how good your ad is, you will have to, yes.
So if you've gone to all the trouble of doing really good SEO on your website,
Yeah.
and then there's another company whose SEO on their website isn't as good, but they're paying for Google
Yeah.
ads, are they going to go higher in the rankings?
Yes, they will go higher. It doesn't mean don't do SEO in terms of because you'll still get a benefit. It's just that it will become harder because a higher percentage of clicks will click on the ads than they would previously. So it's going to be harder, but I wouldn't say don't bother doing it.
So we mainly do B2B sales and marketing.
Yeah.
How much of this using translates into any particular B2B?
Yeah, so B2B generally it's more around 50-50 in terms of your mobile businesses. But again, there's an increasing trend even on, say, the amount of inquiry forms coming through that are on a mobile. So I'd say effectively think of B2B as being 2 to 3 years behind. So they're effectively, it's 50-50 mobile visitors for e-commerce 3-4 years ago, and B2B is just surpassing that now. So it will apply even more, but it does already.
Anyone?
Just on the gallery, that's something that I've been aware of.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming in. Is that going to be purely for shopping if there's a physical product to buy, or will it work for services as well?
No, so it will be a much larger range. So at the moment, you might type in like handbag, and you'll see the Google shopping pictures coming up. This is a big expansion of that, although you'll only get one image, you won't get multiple images. So I think on previous example, so as an example, frozen meals, and you can see it's on web, it's not on shopping, which is the 4th tab along. So effectively, yes, it's completely new, so it's another new image.
Anyone?
Good, great.
Thank you so much, James.
Well, I will hand over to Tim.
Yeah, well,